Hey everyone, this video is going to cover the Ironman 70.3 World Championships in Finland this year. Before we dive into some of the specifics, make sure you give this channel a like, subscribe if you like the content. We're going to dive into some of the general race overviews initially, and then we're going to dive into some course specifics here. If you do want specific training advice or coaching, make sure you reach out to us here, and I'll draw a link down at the bottom here. So without further ado, let's get started. 70.3 Worlds this year. This is our athlete guide. Before we go down here, the highlighted changes are in green and highlighted as well, and so that is a big thing here, and you are going to see a couple of major things here. And on page 5 we have our first big area, and this is the message from the race director. Also some definite rules you want to follow for race day. If not, you will get hit with some penalties. There are no penalty tents on the run course, but if you do incur a penalty on the run, you will get that tacked on your total time at the very end. And that was on page 5. Page 7 here is the start of our event schedule here, and let's zoom in so we can get a good look here. So on that Tuesday, August 22nd, the expo opens. We have information tent and just kind of some general things opening. Wednesday, then it starts to kick off here, and 7:30 to 10:30 we have our practice swim. We also have the accreditation from 9 to 5, media center, VIP areas, lost and found, bike support, which is a big one. If you arrive there and something's wrong with your bike from travel, 9 to 6 it is open. Get it in early or you will be waiting there. Athlete check-in also 9 to 6. It is available on Wednesday. Highly encourage you to check in earlier rather than later. Thursday, there is another practice swim, 7:30. Accreditation is available 9 to 5 as well. Information tent is available. Lost and found, bike support is still open there. And then the race briefings are going to be available. The first one is German at 10 o'clock, French at 11, 12 is Spanish, 1 is Japanese, 2 is Finnish. And then the English one is at 8 p.m. it looks like. Parade of Nations happens at 4 o'clock. Arrive there about 30 minutes earlier so you can partake in that. On Friday, practice swim again, 7:30. Accreditation 9 to 5 again. And then the bike and bike bag check-in for athletes racing Saturday only happens on 12 to 6. And then the run, same thing, from 1 to 6 for athletes racing on Saturday. You will be able to check those things in on Friday. On Saturday here, transition number 1 opens 5:30 to 7:30 a.m. You do have your accreditation available 6 to 8:30 a.m. And the start of the 70.3 World Championships for the ladies is going to happen at 7:30 a.m. The PC is going to kick off at 7:32, and then the age group wave start is going to happen at 7:40. Lost and found, bike tech, all of those things are available for athletes that are not racing that day. So all the men, so bike gear check-in, that's going to happen at 3:15 to 7. Run check-in is going to happen at 3:30 to 8 for athletes racing the following day. An event scheduled continued for Sunday. This is pretty much a carbon copy here. We have transition opening at 5:30 for the guys on Sunday. Accreditation from 6 to 8:30. The start of the race for the men is going to happen at 7:30 with the PC guys heading off at 7:32. Age groupers wave start is going to happen at 7:40 a.m. So that is a breakdown, a quick breakdown. If you want to read it a little bit in more detail, I highly encourage you to do that. On page 10, we have some addresses. Make sure you save those. Travel information and buses, that's on page 11 and 12. And then on race day, page 13. Getting around, also on page 14 here. Then page 17, you have your athlete check-in. Where, when, what to bring. It's pretty much like a general Ironman race. You do have to be prepared to pay €15 fee for the one-day Finnish racing license. That's what it is, or $20 with a credit card. So just be prepared for that. Race packet's going to include all the normal fixins there. Stickers, wristbands. You're going to get some stickers to put on your helmet, bike sticker, and 3 gear bags. This is the Ironman Village where you will be checking in here. You're going to enter in here, do a little circle here counterclockwise, and that will be your check-in. Pre-race info is on page 20. Important addresses, and I highly encourage you to save all of these on page 20. You have the check-in, the swim start transition 1, 2, and the finish line. And then you also have route to transition information. Official swim access. Athletes may swim Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday 7:30 to 10:30 at the beach there, and you will be required to check in and out of that area. You can do it ahead of time right in here, or and that link is clickable, by the way, so that is something great from this athlete guide here. Mandatory athlete briefings are listed over here. Also, if you do not or you cannot make the practice swim sessions, they do have a ton of different options for you in terms of pools or other venues to swim at. So make sure you hit up page 20 for that. And swimming on the race course is prohibited due to boat traffic. So just a heads up, okay? We have our pre-race breakdown on page 21 with the gear bags. The gray is going to be morning, blue is bike, red is run. Mandatory bike and check-in for Saturday athletes. We talked about it earlier. It's going to happen the day before from noon to 6. Sunday, the guys, you are going to be on that Saturday from 12 to 7:30. Mandatory run check-in is the same thing, just a little bit later in the day for most people. And that on page 22 is the venue overview. So we have a couple of cool things, and you got to look a little close, but over here you'll see the practice swim area, the swim start. You'll have transition 1 over here. The athlete briefings are located over there alongside the swim finish, so you can get a good look at that. Transition 2, that is located further down here, so make sure you check that out. Right over here is the finish line, all right, and you can see where Tri-Bike Transport's going to be here and here. You can also see a couple of cool things like a parking garage right through here. Transition 2 is located right here, and you can also, I highly encourage you to check out some of the other things when you are around here. So if you are going to that Transition 2, make sure you check in at the finish line to see what it's going to look like. This is the T1 check-in flow for you. If you are a pro, you are going to enter that transition area, make a right. If you are a PCA athlete, you're going to go walk in this entryway, and you are going to walk straight through. Age group athletes, you are going to rack your bike. You are then going to head to the bottom left-hand corner where you will do your gear bags, and then you will make an exit right over here. Looks like next to the Don Johns. Check-in 2 flow, very similar to the other ones. Make sure you check these little things right here, and you have the check-in areas over here. You're going to go drop off your run bag, then you're going to exit over here. The blue one's the check out. So this is after the race. You're going to go in, grab your T2 gear bag. You're going to go in and grab your bike, and then you are going to head all the way to the far left-hand side where you're going to get your T1 bag, and then you're going to exit towards the back and then loop around. Race day info for race morning procedures, the normal things on page 25. It's starting to look like a normal Ironman race now here. They do say to plan for a little extra time on race morning because all entry points to T1 and the swim start are secured, and you will not be allowed in there in a vehicle, which means you will have to walk a little bit more on race day. Aid stations, 3 bike aid stations at mile 11, 28, and 45, offering the normal stuff here, except we do have a new ad here. We have the Gatorade red or orange, not just the orange, so you do have a couple options there. Run, it has pretty much all the same thing. Only major differences here are the 226ers energy stuff that they have on course for nutrition there. Make sure you definitely check that so you are not surprised with extra calories or extra what else on race day. Timing chip, wear it on your left ankle. Done. If you do retire, you do have to turn that back in. Here are the 226ers. Again, make sure that you do check out the nutrition facts if you are not training with them right now or don't have the ability to do so. Cutoff times are on page 29. Race day, we have the cutoff times for the men on page, 31. Race day flow. This is the morning. This is T1 morning flow. So we are going to enter the same way we did when we did check-in here. Pros, you get to enter at a much more cooler location over there. But Normal people, you are going to enter right through here, and you have the ability to exit right through there. Now, this isn't super well marked, right? But I do think there is going to be a little corral system later on over there. Here we go. This is the swim to bike transition. This is the exit, right? So you are going to exit right down here. Professionals and H or PC athletes, you are going to hang a left right through here. This is your professional transition area. Should be a super fast one. Age groupers, not so lucky. You got to make a longer run. Get your gear bags, go to the change tents, and then you got to get your bike before you exit right where the pros did, right through here. Mountain dismount line is over here, so you're going to have a good little run. So it might be advantageous to think about what you're going to do in terms of socks, no socks, also shoes on or off the bike. Now, swim start, checklist, that kind of thing is on page 34. This is the big one right here. All right, this is the swim waves. Now we're getting into the specifics here. You will see that the pro, then we're going to talk about female and male then. Pro females are going to get released at 7:30 with the PC, IDA, and HC following at 7:32. 8 minutes will go by, and then the female 40 to 44s will be released, and then 9 minutes later, a big thing that I definitely want you guys to notice is 65 to 69 athletes, you are going to be released at 8:06, and then way more than 9 minutes later, you are going to have to hold off the 30 to 34-year-olds. So 30 to 34-year-olds, just a heads up, you will be swimming through some lap traffic there. Just keep that in mind for some of you faster athletes. Keep everybody safe. Some of the slower athletes in those upper age limits, you might want to be very careful, and maybe you go towards the inside or the outside of the lines. Now, males. Pro males getting released at 7:30, same thing, 7:32. Next group, 40 to 44s getting released at 7:40. We have, I imagine this is because there's a bigger wave here, because 16 minutes later for the men, we have 70, 74, 75 to 79, 80 to 84, and 85 to 89. That is all getting released at the same time here. Immediately afterwards, we do have the 35 to 39-year-olds coming through again. So 35 to 39-year-olds, make sure you're aware of what's happening. You are swimming through some older athletes there. And if you are a little bit slower of an athlete, you might want to choose a non-direct line. The swim start, here we go. Professional start's going to happen right over there. VIP areas for viewing and media are going to be there. Professional staging area, you have your own area right through here, just to remove yourself from the age group kind of craziness that's about to happen. So the age group staging is going to happen right in this portion right here. This is going to be very akin to a normal Ironman start. They're probably going to have signs, corral markers, that kind of thing. You're going to self-seed in your wave, right, because you're all going to have different colors. And so make sure you talk to some people around you and don't get too bogged down to the whole atmosphere and then just get totally overtaken in your wave because you're in the wrong spot. All right, so page 38, this is our swim course here. This is our start, this is our finish. So keep in mind that you are not starting at T1. You have to walk around and you have to make it all the way there. Professionals and upper echelon age groupers for the men and women, it's not really going to matter here. This is how the race is going to play out for you. For these first 500 meters, it's going to be fast. It's going to be fast. This buoy's going to be tight over here. You do have a little jetty that sticks out over here. I don't think that turn's going to be super narrow, but you never know. Might want to keep that in mind. But there's going to be people crowding all around through here, and once you make this left-hand turn, things are going to start to loosen up a bit. Now, smarter athletes, you are going to let someone else drive that pace and stick with them over here. Perfect world, if you are one of the faster athletes and you are in a group of 6 or 7, let those group of 6 or 7 guys or girls really push the pace, and they will want to right out of the gate, and let them. You're going to have to work very hard, absolutely, but you know what? Just be along for the ride over here for a second and don't be on the wrong side of those splits. So if you are projected to come out near the front of your group, wave, whatever we're talking about here, just be ready to work, but let other people do the lion's share of the work, and they will be absolutely willing to do it here. And believe it or not, they're going to also be willing to do it here. You kind of want to look for some of those inexperienced athletes who got here kind of accidentally, who are really fired up going into the swim, and that's the athlete that you want to follow. Perfect. At about this second turn buoy, people are going to start to realize that they've gone too hard, which is going to be perfect for you because you can just leapfrog them out there. So again, this turn is going to be tight. It's going to be a little tighter than you want. It's going to be a lot of crowded people. So again, you're just going to have to battle through that and kind of make your way through there. And this point right here is going to be one of the slowest out on course for most people in the age groupers. Professionals, this is going to be one final time for you to push through this section here. This 530 meters that they have right through here, it is, as the crow flies, it is a straight shot. In reality, you're probably going to be doing some zigzagging right through here, and having those sight lines kind of fail you will become very detrimental here. So if you do fall back a couple of meters, but you are swimming very, very straight, you might have a chance to catch up with people who are zigzagging but swimming a little bit harder. Going back to the age groupers here, this line right here, this first stretch of 500 meters is going to be very fast for you no matter who you are. As the age groupers kind of slow down and we start to get to the back end or the kind of the middle of those waves, this section is going to become a little softer, but it's still going to be fast here. Once we do make this turn, again, this is going to be the point at which people start to swim their pace, and in reality, they came all the way to Finland from all over the world, so that area is going to happen a little bit later. And like I said, just let other people do the work for a while. Let them blow themselves up on the swim, and it'll be happy days for you and not for them. Once you do make this second turn over here, when you do go back this 500-meter section right through here, again, this is your opportunity to leapfrog people, but do so swimming within your own means. Do not go outside of your means here. That is a fool's errand. Another super uncommon thing, or a super, it's probably a bad word, another super kind of a trick that people play on themselves is they think they have to really hammer this section in, and you'll see it with professionals a lot. They'll want to create that separation. They'll want to create a little bit of room in between some people. So if they think that if they kind of just blast this last section, it's going to be just easy breezy from there. And so faster age groupers and professionals, that's not really what you want to do if you're solo. If you have a group that's willing to work, sure, I buy that, okay? But do not go solo up the swim here. That is not a positive race tactic, especially if you are a faster transitioner. You really want to go up the swim in this section with a group of 3, 4, maybe even another person, at least 2 people, at least, to make that a positive move there. Or if you are a super strong biker and there's another super strong biker that is coming with you on the swim, fine. Back of the pack age groupers, middle age groupers, swim your race at this point in time. I know you're going to want to just crush this section, but do your best to hold back. I know you came a really long way, but just keep everything in check so far, because you're going to do some things later on that you will not be happy with yourself about. This is the swim finish. You're going to have a longer jog to transition 1, and also keep in mind where that mount and dismount line is. It's going to be a little bit longer than you want it to. There's going to be a long way to go in transition for most age groupers, and professionals. You can ignore that last bit there. So page 39, we have the swim course rules you can read. We have full gas, which is a not clickable link. Don't know why. This is the bike course here. So fun fact about the bike course, fun little rabbit hole. If you go out and map this yourself, you will have about 4,100 feet of elevation gain. If you look at this, we have a listed elevation gain of about 1,400 feet. And if we go to our best bike split, we have about 2,300 feet of elevation gain here. Well, that took me a long time to figure out, and I'll tell you what's happening. So if you do go out and map out this yourself, you can see the same thing will happen. You'll have these dips all over here, and if we go to the satellite portion of our race, you're like, oh, what's happening right here? The answer is absolutely nothing. Nothing's happening right here. It's just the GPS signals or data points don't really hit out there. So you have these awesome little blips that go up and down. We do not have a 330 and then go down to 11 feet and then immediately back up to 317 feet. That doesn't happen out there. So if you do map this and you load this into your computer, you are going to have false power readings that you want to hit. If you plug it into the system, right, it will come up with a much smoother curve for you, and in reality this is matching up much nicer. You can also double check this as I did, and you can go out to I closed the page already, but if you look at Finland's 70.3 profile, it is very, very similar to this. There is a different section that they do, but that is, I'll save you guys the time and effort. Don't do that. Instead, use the cheat sheets, use the things that the best spike split really provides you with, and that will very, very, very much make this race more accurate for you. Professionals, let's hit you first. So on your if you were to do a power profile like this, you would know that the first 20, 25, 35 miles, you can pretty much ignore this, okay? You're going to be going fast. You're going to be trying to stay with the group, and if you're feeling good, you're going for it a little bit. Now, some of the places that you can kind of go for it, and we'll highlight those for you here. First section that people are going to do, right out of the gate over here. Second section that someone is going to go and try to make a push for it is from mile 11 to mile 16, 18, somewhere in there. If you are a hill climber, your job is going to be to stay with the group there. If you are a flat puncher, your job is going to be to try to get away from people and try to do so with a group here for a little while, because there is a good little section of net uphill that happens from about mile 17 to 35 here. It's up and down. You're mixing and you're rolling all in through this section here. So the punchers are going to be are going to have a couple of advantages in here, and it's going to happen through here, and in reality right through here. The outright hill climbers are going to have an advantage here, and also these last two sections right through there. But a punchier athlete is going to be able to get through, or theoretically should be able to get through this course. So people who are hill climbers and are lighter athletes that have no problem going up, you are really going to want to put the pressure on some of those punchier athletes. Punchier athletes, your job is going to be to do the exact opposite of that. So during these flatter rolling sections right here, your job is going to be just to build up speed and just really steamroll them. Okay, so the tactics are going to be a little bit different depending on who you are. Age grouper athletes, this is where you kind of change a little bit in these first 20 or 30 miles here. So for the first, let's call it 7.5 miles, our power plan, it's pretty steady for the most part. Yeah, we do have some ups and some downs, but this is going to be the softer side of this course here, and this is going to be a real opportunity for you to blow your race through this point right through here. So do not do that. You really want to arrive in this section ready to kind of get your work done. If you really floor it up the first 3-4 miles here, then that is going to be a recipe for disaster. So you really just want to get through those with a decent rate of speed. And after you get to this point right through here, that is going to be the point in time where you start to kind of put the power down a little bit. You start to kind of do your race. The next section is this big section right here, and I'll keep this highlighted for a second. So this section here is a steady increase in effort. You are going to have a load of areas where you are going to be able to recover, say here, but you could see that there's a couple more here, but in reality, you don't want to go super excessive in these uphill sections because the downhills are not going to be super long, and after you get to the end of that downhill, you're immediately going up. This is going to be a course where you are going up, down, all around, never really super flat for very long. You're always going to be doing something, so expect to shift a ton, right? And so that's where you go back to some of those punchier athlete comments I mentioned earlier. You don't want to really blow it up on these hills yet, okay? If you did want to really put the hammer down, then that is going to happen right through here. And professionals, we're going to go back to you here for a second. Think back to some of those comments we talked about earlier, punchier athletes versus more hill climbers, right? Hill climbers are going to be able to really shave those packs down, but you're going to have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of that. So professionals, once you get to mile 35, the race kind of changes a little bit for you. So as we talked about before, you're super punchy, and now, right, the punchier athletes really, they have the potential to really pay, right? So there's a lot of opportunity to climb some of these hills right here, and the punchier athletes are going to be driving the paces on these downhills and some of these other smaller uphills that you're going to be able to go up no problem. But in here, there's going to be some opportunity for you to kind of escape, right? And you're going to have a couple of chances. I'll see if we can make a little number for you. There's 1 here, and then 2's here, 3 here, and 4 here, and they all happen in a relatively small amount of time, right? It's going to be a couple areas, but those are the main ones. You have 4 chances to crack that pack, right? So if you have 4 mountain climbers and you have 4 or 5 other punchier athletes, you're going to want those punchier athletes to drop off, and that's where you're going to really push it right through there. Punchier athletes, your job is to stay on, and in those softer hills, you are going to try to shed these athletes or just kind of make them do what they don't want to do, right? Ride how they don't want to ride. And if you don't do that, then you're going to really pay for it later on, because this section right through here, this is going to be another kind of fool's errand like we talked about on the swim. This is going to be an area where some athletes really try to really work to get people gone. Highly encourage you to hang on to the pack and let others work at this section here, because 45 miles, we have about 10 left, right? So what you want other people to do is start to take over. You're thinking about the run, your nutrition, and if you're a hill climber, right, and you lose the pack and you have a couple people around you, hopefully, you have the potential to shave that down a little bit at this point here. It's not a super aggressive hill. None of these really are, right? But that's really your last chance to get back on. You really don't want to do that. You really want to hang on with the pack, punch your athletes. Again, even still, I would kind of stay with the pack at this point right through here, unless you're feeling really strong and you want to establish that race-winning move now. I would encourage you to do it sooner rather than later, because as we get closer and closer to, let's call it the big hill out on course, you only have about 3 or 4 miles left, maybe 5 miles left, and you got to ask yourself, is that enough time? And enough time to set up a big enough gap to hold the pack off on the run? And that is a personal question for you. So age groupers, let's switch back to you. The professionals are really working it in this section right through here. You have the ability to kind of do the same thing, but not to the same effect, right? This is going to be an area where another number of athletes get themselves in trouble. They're really going to punch it again and again and again over these hills, right? And I would kind of save that for some of the steeper sections, like you can see a big one right through there. And let's go to our time analysis here so you can really see what's happening here. So let's go to the power, and we're just going to increase it 5%. And this is going to be a course that you can set up a lot of time savings really easily. And you see these skinny lines, and you just want to attack these skinny lines again and again and again. Really big one here, 2 minutes, and you go 5% faster. That segment time, you are going to save 6 seconds. But if you look, there's a couple other really small ones, and you can even highlight this and make this even smaller. Right here, a minute effort for 5% faster. You gain 2, almost 3 seconds here. And again, this big time savings here was 6. And again, this is going to be another one where a lot of athletes hit. I don't really think that's a great idea. It's going to be on everybody's mind. But again, if you think here, you'll have to go 5% harder for about 4.5 minutes, and that's only going to net you about 9 seconds. So I pick up some of these more ticky-tacky ones all throughout the course, and that's going to benefit you a lot more. So let's talk about weather next, okay? Weather next. It's modeled right now that our wind direction is, it's about nothing, right? It's 6.5 miles an hour. I would suspect that this goes up a little bit more to 10-ish, 12, somewhere in that neighborhood. And what typically happens is it does come from that east to west-ish area. And so when we go on this power plan, right, when we go down the first long section here, you are projected to have a tail or a cross tail wind. Everybody should take note of that, whether you're an age grouper or a professional, because you're going to have a false sense of going fast and you're going to be chasing extra watts, extra speed because you think you're feeling extra good. And that could be the case, but I'd be very careful and weigh the pros and cons. If you're already averaging 25 and you normally do 23, is that 26th mile an hour really worth it? Because you really start to have to overcome some air resistance the more you get up there. Right? As you start to make this first turn, and we do turn right around the clock here, around the piece of pizza, things shift, right? And we go immediately into a crosswind here. Crosswind, and as we start to keep turning right, that wind starts to turn on us, right? So when we start to get to some of these smaller towns through here, and we start to get further up that piece of pizza, it gets more and more into a headwind, where we will be turning sharp right there, heads up. We are going to turn right into a headwind. So again, punch your athletes, you are going to have, whether you're an age grouper or a professional, you are going to have an advantage in this section right here. But waiting until this last little bit, we do, that is kind of scary for a lot of professionals. So you definitely want to move your time slot up a little bit more there in an ideal situation. It's not always ideal. But age groupers, again, you want to save some of this effort left in here. That's why I've been saying you really want to be careful in this section right through here, because that is the point where you do turn, and if the weather is kind of projected to do what it normally does, then you are going to be battling a headwind the entire time back in. Think Ironman Maryland for East Coasters, okay? It's not going to be that windy. I don't want to jinx it, but you're going to be having similar conditions through there. And that is pretty much the bike course in a nutshell. Make sure that you don't have to go down that rabbit hole for yourself. So let's zoom in here and talk about just a couple other things before we go on to the run. You're going to have your first aid station right after mile 10, right through there. And then the next one is going to happen right at 26, 27, I believe. And then the last one is going to happen right after 45 miles there. That is all in that headwind section there. So plan your nutrition accordingly. If you want me to kind of go through some of this with you, happily do so. Reach out. We can kind of set some things up. Bike course rules on page 43. Again, keep an eye out for these things right here. Discarding any item outside of the trash zone will result in a blue card, which is a 5-minute penalty. So heads up. Heads up. Make sure you read all those rules. Very, very beneficial. We have the Full Gas Bike Store, bike support information on page 45, along with Tri-Bike Transport, overnight bike parking, which is open to all athletes. So read up on that. This is the race day flow for T2. So what's going to happen on race day is you are going to be coming bike in. This is going to be a scarier section for age groupers because there's going to be more people, professionals. You should have this pretty much handled, right? You only really have one person at a time during this section. Drafting is going to be a major deal here. Doubt that they enforce anything, and this is going to be one of the most dangerous portions of the course because it's small and there's a lot of athletes around. Professionals, do not try to overtake someone here. Please, age groupers, do not try to overtake someone here unless they are going 2 miles an hour, okay? This turn is going to be very, very dangerous. If it's busy, if anyone goes down, you probably are not going to be able to see them, and you are just going to have to be on your P's and Q's right here. People are going to be coming out of their shoes. It's going to be a mess. Just heads up in this section. Do not go down here. Pay attention. Another area to pay attention is the crosswalks right through here. Hopefully those are bridges that are mapped out on this bike map here. But the bike dismount line is going to happen right here. You are going to hang a right where you are going to go drop off your bike. Then you have to make the arduous task of racing all the way to the bottom section of the bike rack area. There's no shortcuts here. If you have a rack somewhere over here, well, that's a lot more work for you. You got to zigzag all the way through. In a perfect scenario, your rack is right here and you just run all the way down. Remember, straightest lines are going to be the fastest. So again, right through here, this is going to be very slow. No fault of your own, but you are going to have to weigh the pros and the cons of doing something like that instead. Walk it if you can a couple days before, see where the fastest route is, and again, do that walking, right? Little pro tip for you. Walk through it and time yourself to see which way is the fastest, and so that way on race day, you know, I'm just going to go that way. Run course. We're going to keep it here because of our GPS issues. It's not worth it. This is a 2-loop course through here. This is our elevation profile gain. We have 650 feet of elevation gain. Coming out of transition, we have a soft hill, right? That's a perfect scenario in my mind, right? You want to get out here, you're going to want to go a little bit slower anyway, so just kind of eat that hill, you know, just don't really push it over that 1 mile area. Then once you get to the top there, it kind of flattens out a little bit, right? And then you know what that means? You can start running your race. Perfect. That is great. So now we have an issue, right? Because normally we can kind of build speed up in a race, right? And this time it's going to be kind of a false sense of speed here. And this is going to be the same for pros and age groupers here. And what I mean is this first mile, you're going to be fighting it a little bit. You're going to try to get through it depending how you got up that hill. Then the next mile or so might be a little clunky as well. But if you get to the top here, and you're still feeling good, you didn't overdo it, and you just kind of got things working again, you'll be able to get your pace right away, right? The problem is once we start to get past 2 miles, we start to drop, and we drop again, and we drop again. And so chances are you're going to be around a bunch of people. Adrenaline's going to be high. You know, you're almost done with this race. You want to limit the amount of bad form through this section here, because if you ignore it and you're just running on cloud 9, you are going to pay the price for it later on, and your form is going to break down severely here. So, you know, think your glute core activation, all of that stuff is going to be happening to happen right there. You're going to want to be careful with the way you're striking the ground, landing, reacting to things, and how you're putting out your power through this section. It's downhill running, right? It's going to last for about a mile, mile and a half. So you really want to be careful, and that is one of the dangers on this course. And again, just like we talked about for the first section of the bike, when you are going here, this is again a false sense of speed. If you're chasing some of those pace numbers, you are going to have to be very, very careful at that point there. Because, you know, once it starts to flatten out, this little hill right here is going to hit athletes very hard, believe it or not, because they're going to want to try to maintain those paces for longer and longer, and that hill is going to be in their way. Athletes that get over it, that just keep ignoring it, are probably going to hit the wall right at mile 5.5 or at the top here. This last section of the first loop, I don't know why that was a tongue twister. This is really an opportunity for you to run your race, right? This is really where the big dogs come out right at mile 4. And you don't really look back after that because there's no real break-in period anymore here. We're at the bottom of our kind of danger zone here. And this is kind of the time to go, right? This is going to be the point in time where you do start to turn the screws. And a successful athlete on this course is going to do one of two things. The first one is what I'm talking about, is now you just start to increase the power, increase the pace, you know, and you just steadily do that throughout the remainder of the run, aside from this little 9 to 10 mile blip, you know. You're just going to slowly turn the screws here. You slowly put the pressure on other athletes. The other option that you can do is really motor through this section and kind of hold off. Those are the two real power plays out on race day. I would advise number 1. The most dangerous one is obviously number 2. But if you're feeling really strong, that's your race to do it. So just be careful there. Aid stations out over here. We have T2. We have the start right through here. You're going to go down, make this little loop-de-loop right through here before you exit out, and you have that first aid station here. Next one, we run through mile 1. We have mile, let's call it 1.4. We have our second aid station. And then the next one comes at mile 2.5, maybe a little bit longer. Next one after that, we are zigging and zagging, making our way through. Right before mile 4 is the third one. The fourth one happens a little after that, before mile 5. And then we do this underneath the road here, and then we go around this little lake for the out and back section before we cross over and we do the whole thing again. Finish line is going to happen. You make that right hand turn and you do one little fish hook into the finish there. So again, you really just want to be patient here. When I went through this whole run course, there is shade out here. It's not going to be as much as you want out there, so the weather elements are going to play a factor out here as well, and it's going to hit you harder depending on what you did on the bike. So maintain that bike and the run. We're going to get through it, but you got to be patient. Don't let that first couple of miles, those first 2 and maybe even 3 miles, really fool you into thinking it's go time right from the gun, because that's not the case out there. Be super careful out there. Cool yourself off as best as possible on the bike as well. You're really going to want to keep your core temperature down, all the things that we normally talk about. And good luck to everybody out there. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all this stuff. If you are interested in coaching, please reach out to us. I'll leave a link in the description as well. And with that, good luck, everybody, to this 70.3 World Champs 2023 edition. And if you want to hang on for just one more second, there is one thing that I did miss. Page 50 out here, event sanction. These 2 big rule violations here have just been added. Any person who participates in any portion of a sanctioned event without first properly registering shall be suspended from Ironman events for a period up to 1 year. Anyone who assists another athlete, will be suspended for a period of 1 year. Anyone who violates this rule may be banned for life from any Ironman event. So just be really, really careful out there and know the rules and monitor everything out there. And with that, guys, that's all I got this time. Let me know if you have any questions or anything, and let me know. Good luck, everyone.